Good morning. Well, it's morning where I live in the Eastern Standard Time Zone in the United States. It is not morning where our featured entrepreneur. Is it okay if I call you an entrepreneur, Sheila? You had a little bit of
You were going to call me a spirit.
a spirit. Sheila and I had an interesting discussion, actually, and the discussion that we had is leading into our theme for today. But before we get to that theme, well, let me introduce Sheila. I might as well do that now. Sheila Strover is an individual who embodies what I call the entrepreneurial spirit. You can't translate that spirit into an actual plan as entrepreneurs do. They take the spirit, they take the idea, they take the dream, and they build it into an actionable business plan. And when I asked Sheila to come and share her vast level and knowledge of things, because I see the comments that she makes in other streams that I happen to be following at any given point in time, she definitely embodies the entrepreneurial spirit. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. But Sheila, thank you for taking time. And now it's approaching 5 o'clock in the UK.
Yeah, 4:30.
4:30, 5 o'clock. So why don't you, if you would, first of all, welcome to our broadcast today. And if you would, share with us how you got to where you are today. What was that journey that you took, and why did you make the decisions in your life that you have made to get us to today, where you and I are now having a conversation about the spirit of entrepreneurship?
It was a slightly convoluted journey, I would say, David, but sticking along a medical pathway most of the way. So I was first of all born in South Africa, so I'm not English. But I come from a long line of Englishmen, and my one part of my family are from the Shetlands and the other part from Scotland. So I was born in South Africa because my father was an assayer and metallurgist on the gold mines. So I was a miner's daughter. And then when I was a little girl, he went north to Zimbabwe, which was then southern Rhodesia, because he was working on the gold mines there. So I grew up as a child with bare feet, climbing on rocks, looking for snakes, out in the Rhodesian bush, so a long way from where I am now. And then as I got older in Zimbabwe, I did all my schooling there. You couldn't go to the university there, and there was only one, unless you had a certain level of schooling. But if you went to South Africa, you could go to university a year earlier. So I actually went back south to university in South Africa. And I had absolutely no intentions to go into medicine whatsoever. I was going to be a school teacher teaching biology, and I did 1 year, and I absolutely hated botany. And I did one term of school teaching, and I absolutely hated teaching, and I didn't know what to do next. So I had a biology teacher whose husband was a medic, and he said, "Why don't you do medicine or medical science?" So I went back and I switched courses into medical science, so I became a scientist, and it was in the same class as the medical students. And then I left, and I worked in a laboratory, went back to Rhodesia, which was then Rhodesia, and I worked in a laboratory there. And I felt very lost because my classmates had all gone on into third-year medicine, and they were all progressing as doctors, and there was I stuck in a little laboratory in the middle of darkest Africa. And so I went back and I applied for medicine. So then I started my medical career at that point. And I finished and I worked in anesthetics and anesthesiology. And then I married somebody who became a knee surgeon, so that was where my knee interests began. And he is much more entrepreneurial than I, and he wanted to do a big development to do with cruciate ligament surgery. And he had to do it in England because that's where all the expertise was. So we came to live here. So that was how I fell into that particular space. And then because I was already older and didn't fit comfortably into the UK medical system where I hadn't been trained, we both decided to leave and make a specialist clinic. So we made a knee clinic, and we made a knee foundation for charitable educational purposes, and we ran that as not solopreneurs because there were two of us, but he employed or took on colleagues, knee surgeon colleagues, and I was working really in the medical management at that stage. I stopped doing the anesthesia and I was doing the medical management. So that's where I became interested in teaching and educating people in the field that I'm in. And that's where I am now, really. Are you still there? You're very quiet.
No, I'm enthralled by your story.
Well, some years ago now, we're talking more than a decade, we split up. And I went my own way with my website, which was a fledgling website in those days. And that's where I have my focus now, on a knee website to help people with knee problems.
Interesting. So it sounds like it's probably not a website that necessarily is there to generate revenue for you. It sounds like it's a website to educate folks.
You got a lot of insight there, yeah. Well, it's turned out to be all sorts of things actually, because it has a lot of page visits. So I think about 22,000 people a day visit the site.
Really?
And it has a bulletin board that has been going for so many years that there are people on it who've got like annual badges. They've got 10 badges because they've been there for 10 years. And the bulletin board has become self-sustaining. And I think actually that's possibly my kind of crowning achievement, is that it's a resource that creates itself every day, because there's so many people on the bulletin board, and they're all so knowledgeable that they're all teaching one another, and all I do is depend and give a hand from time to time. So, and when you were talking earlier about communities in the green room, and you were saying how you can get like multiple communities, and it takes so much effort to keep the vitality there. Well, my content in the bulletin board is self-sustaining. The people are looking up papers, they're writing blogs, they're doing all sorts of things there. So I'm on the outside of that process, really.
Well, you must have
community that runs itself.
With 22,000 visitors per day, you must have the most active knee bulletin board website in the world.
I think it is, yeah. It is. It's not visitors, it's page visits. So, everybody looks at a couple of pages, but it has a lot of visitors as well. And then there's another section that I'm actually incredibly proud of, and that's where I sort of list these days, is that there are, because when you're a knee patient and you've got something fairly obscure, you might not know who to turn to, and your family doctor may not know who to turn to. So I've got a database there of knee surgeons all around the world. So knee surgeons from Poland, from India, from Hungary, you name it. And I think there's about 700 or 800. I don't think there's quite 1,000, but there's a lot of knee surgeons represented there. So that's a completely different project, but they link together, really.
I was going to say that just today, earlier this morning, before 7 o'clock, I believe I probably spoke with 25 baby boomers. And because there are so many, well, each day in the United States, and I'm not sure what the statistic is around the world, but every day in the United States, I believe it's 8,000 folks turn 65 every
Mm-hmm.
single day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had the pleasure of turning 65 2 weeks ago.
Oh, I'm
And
older than you. I'm 66. Actually, I can never remember. I'm so old I can't actually work it out
you're
anymore.
so, but isn't it beautiful to, well, I don't know about your life, but my life has been one of challenges when there's been at least 3 or 4 times in my life where I did not know if there would be another birthday. And
Mm.
I have a very, very wonderful watch person watching over me, and also a team of surgeons that
Mm-hmm.
report to that that watch person, and so I'm still around, but I have to believe, and you know what, I didn't ask you to do this in advance, but could you quickly bring up your website and do a screen share on it, or can you do that, or
Yeah, if you just give me a minute to find it.
go ahead,
You were
and
you
do
were
it?
going to read your entrepreneurial whatever it
Okay.
was.
I have to tell folks, and the folks who are listening, I don't know if you have or have not heard me read the Entrepreneur's Pledge, and I was talking a little bit about it. Sheila asked me a question in the green room, and I referenced the pledge, and she said, "David, you're going to have to read that today." And I said, "Well, I guess it's about time for me to read it again. I will do it in a second, but before I get to that, I want to note the fact that today is day 2 in the United States, and I'm not sure how things function in the UK. Maybe Sheila will share that with us, but today is day 2 of National Small Business Week, so designated by the Small Business Administration.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been in existence since 1953. Within the last 7-8 months, they have employed, if you will, a new executive director of the SBA, very, very uh, active and aggressive individual. The purpose of the SBA is to, well, it's a lot of things. And it's a very misunderstood resource in this country. It's a website. Well, first of all, it's funded by you and I, not Sheila, but you and I, the taxpayers. Well, who's ever watching and is a taxpayer. We fund it, but we don't. A lot of us don't really understand the power of that resource and what is available. The website alone for the Small Business Administration has over 4,000 pages of information about small business. It's the most extensive resource in the world about small business.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a misunderstood fact about this Small Business Administration is that people think that they make loans to small business, and that is not the case at all. What they do is they guarantee a loan, and they have different levels of guarantee from,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, maybe 40% guaranteed up to all the way up to 90%, depending upon the nature of the loan for the small business and depending upon their feeling as to how you, the entrepreneur, might execute that business plan in a successful fashion so that you can pay back your loan. Now,
Mm-hmm.
banks love the SBA guarantee, and in fact, many banks will absolutely not loan to small businesses unless they have that SBA guarantee. And like I said, with a guarantee up to 90%, banks love that because their risk factor at that point is 10%. If the entrepreneur is not able to repay the loan to the bank at a 90% guarantee, the loss to that bank is only 10%. So they love the program. Well, National Small Business Week. Today is day 2. Real quickly, I want to share what's happening on day 2. You need to go to sba.gov. That's their website. And they designated 5 cities this week, and they're doing live events in those 5 cities. They're doing a lot of online events, and today they are in Kansas City. Oh my goodness. Kansas City, and I have visited that city 3 times because of a foundation that exists in Kansas City by the name of the Kauffman Foundation, Kauffman. The Kauffman Foundation is the outstanding #1 foremost foundation for entrepreneurship in the entire world. It's a multi-billion-dollar asseted, if that's a word, foundation. They make they will invest in businesses. That's not their major objective. They set up a lot of programs for entrepreneurs. They do a lot of wonderful things. If you've never visited Kauffman Foundation, KAUFFMAN.org, I urge you to do so. And it's a pretty good segue, Sheila, because the Entrepreneur Pledge was written by the Kauffman Foundation.
Okay, you're taking the pledge today.
I'm gonna. Well, I took the pledge originally over 3 years ago, and when I took the pledge, I was in the first 3,000 entrepreneurs from around the world that took the pledge. I quite honestly don't know how many have taken it today, but I'm going to do it real quickly. I usually have commentary, but it's very, very appropriate to being read today during National Small Business Week. It's very, very appropriate that today entrepreneurial activity in Small Business Week is centered in Kansas City, the home of the Kauffman Foundation. Okay. I am an entrepreneur. I am following a dream, pursuing an opportunity, taking charge of my own destiny. I am bringing something of value to society, making a job for myself and for others, and creating wealth that benefits my family, my community, my country, my world. I am one of a movement of millions of entrepreneurs and innovators who made America great, and as a side note, probably made the UK great and South Africa great, and who will keep our economy going and growing. I am what I am because many people have helped me along this journey. So that kind of defines who I am as an entrepreneur. Now, here's the pledge part of it. Therefore, and my friends, I live by this pledge. And if any of you, well, not if any of you, those of you who know me and follow me, here is why I do what I do. I will tell my story, sharing my successes and failures, so that others taking the entrepreneurial path can learn. I'm going to digress for a moment, Sheila, on that word because I hate the word failure. I don't believe the word failure exists in the entrepreneurial spirit. And here's why. You might not be successful in your business venture, but that is not failure. Failure comes from not doing and trying and following your dream. That's where the failure is. Now, you might not achieve what it is you're trying to achieve, and for lots of reasons. The persistent entrepreneur will go back and say, okay, this isn't working. I need to make this change, and then let's see if it makes it work better than it has been working. So I don't like the word failure. I like the word you're not as successful as you would like to be. Okay. I will tell my story, share my successes and failures so that others taking the entrepreneurial path can learn. Number 2, I will strive to mentor an aspiring entrepreneur. And let
Mhm.
me see here for a second. There are people who are viewing right now, and they will attest to the fact, some of them will attest to the fact that I strive to mentor.
Mhm.
I will make my voice heard by those who make policy decisions that affect me and my business. Now, I'm going to pause again. I don't do a lot of that personally, but what I do is I pay dues to an organization called the National Federation of Independent Businesses, and that is their mission to represent small business, the
Mm.
voice of small business in Washington, as well as all of the 50 state capitals. So I don't make political statements myself. I pay my dues and I let NFIB do what they do because they're going to do it a whole lot better than I do. To that point, I am not about politics at all. I'm about small business and what is in the best interest of small business. It has nothing to do with politics, nothing. And unfortunately, the powers to be, the political parties to be, don't necessarily look at it the same way that I do. They make political kinds of decisions and thoughts based upon the politics of their particular party. And I am not in agreement with that at all. Have I made my position clear, Sheila?
Have you got to the end of all your oaths there? Have you got another one?
I've got three more.
3 more? Okay, let's have a...
Number four, I will appreciate and celebrate my accomplishments and the accomplishments of all my fellow entrepreneurs.
Oh, well, you do that pretty well, David.
I try to, Sheila. That's what I try to do. Well, this is going to be a good segue in just talking about the entrepreneurial spirit because this embodies the entrepreneurial spirit.
Okay.
I will give back to the society that helped me to be successful. And the final I will statement is I will build a stronger America. And if I can do something to build a stronger UK, Sheila, you let me know what that is, and I will do whatever I can to make that happen. That's the pledge. And as I said in the green room to you, it explains what I do and why I do it better than I can actually say it in words. It's
Yeah.
in that pledge. So that's why I read the pledge to hopefully motivate other folks to do the things that we need to do to keep this country and the world going and growing. Okay, let's talk about that entrepreneurial spirit now. You said some things to me, to us, to the audience, about 10 minutes ago, and I will take issue to your statement to me that you're not an entrepreneur. Yes, you certainly embody the spirit of entrepreneurship, but you took action on it. You've got a website. It doesn't matter that the website makes money or doesn't make money. It's there for the benefit of folks to get information about knees. And we all have knees. Most of us have two knees. And so we
Well, I try to keep it that way.
try to keep it that way. And so we can go to your website. And actually, as I also said I think I said it in the green room, that with the aging population that we have in the United States, and I'm sure it's pretty much the same in the UK, that every day, I think the number is 8,000 people turn 65. And 65-year-old knees, I don't care what kind of physical shape you're in, they're 65-year-old knees, and they're going to have problems. I teach 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 exercise classes a week, and so I probably, I mean, I still find parts of my body that are not in shape. I found a couple just an hour ago. I continue to need work on, but our knees, I mean, they support us. They are a very important part of our body, and we have to do those things to protect our needs. What are some of the things? What are your suggestions, particularly with some folks that are aging, if they don't have an exact problem where a doctor needs to pay attention to that problem? What are some things people can do for their knees?
Oh, I think that at 65 plus, just walking is fantastic. You know, walking the dog, walking on the beach, walking half a mile a day and half a mile back again must be probably the most useful thing to do. Taking care of your footwear, that when you go walking you wear decent walking shoes with soft inners and that sort of thing, so that you're not thrashing your knees with running on hard pavements with bad shoes. Biking, just generally keeping mobile, I think, and also keeping something I don't do, keeping your trunk strong, your hips strong, your sort of
with good posture.
What they call core strength, good posture. Yeah. So that's it really. Decent diet.
You hit one of the things that I need to work on more than I do, and that's the core strength that I have. And it's kind of interesting. 4 of the 6 classes that I do are I call them cardiovascular training classes. We do we do an exercise on a stationary bike, and there's only so many things you can do on a stationary bike. You can add resistance or not add resistance. You can sit down, stand up, or lean forward. You can go fast. You can go slow. That's really all the things that you can do. So you do variations of those. So we climb hills of different intensity by adding resistance to the stationary bike, and we will also change position. That changing the position, as you well know, will change your heart rate. For me, my maximum heart rate is attained by a far forward position with a lot of resistance. I mean, I'm working hard, so that's kind of that's what I do. But
have you used a rowing machine?
Actually, the answer to that question is no. And I know a rowing machine will be great for upper body strength as well as core strength, and our quads become very strong with rowing. And one wouldn't think that because they see people, pulling and rowing, but you're pulling upon your quads and you're putting resistance.
Sliding on the sliding scene, yeah.
Yes, you're putting resistance there, and that's what builds muscle. Let's get into something that I'm real curious, because you're a knee person. What your thoughts are about running? And I'll tell you why after you give me your answer. Then I'll tell you why I asked the question.
I was with Janet Hamilton the other day on a hangout where she came in as my guest. So she's the lady that you need to talk to. She's
Janet was one of my featured entrepreneurs. I've done a one-on-one with Janet months ago. But yeah, she's one of our 65 featured entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Well, I think there's running and running. So somebody who's at Janet's level of expertise, they'll be paying attention to all manner of things, cardiovascular and their feet, their ankles, the hips, core strength, etc. But I think the casual runner, for example, for some time I lived in France, and people would do these pilgrim trails. And they would just get on the road, and they weren't running. They were, walking fast to get to the next destination. And they would land at our village with the most terrible problems. They'd fall out because they just didn't prepare properly. So I would think that the majority is preparation and, paying attention to your hips and your abduction, adduction, all the things related to your hips, and preventing the kind of inflammatory things that you get if you're running without proper preparation. So what was your question?
Well,
What
my
was your problem?
point was on my 31st birthday, literally my 31st birthday, which was 34 years ago, a week ago Saturday, I was playing racquetball with a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Racquetball is a good cardiovascular workout. You're bending, you're working out. It's a good workout. And after we were done with the workout, my friend said, "Let's go upstairs and run a mile." And I said, "You got to be crazy. I just had a good workout. I can't run a mile right now." And he said, "Come upstairs and let's go run a mile." So I went upstairs with him, and I ran the mile, and I did not stop running for the next 3 years. It just took that first mile, and I was crazy, Sheila. I know that. Well, I guess I'm fortunate because I don't feel it in my knees. I've never had a knee injury in my 65 years, but from age 31, 32, and 33, I ran 75 miles a week religiously. And that's a lot of miles. That's a lot of miles. And I also ran them. I trained to do 10Ks, so I had a very, very good time for a 10K. But I was pretty convinced that about 15 years after I stopped running, I had a herniated disc. And I don't know what it was, but I really thought that herniated disc, came about because of all that pounding that I was doing as I was running. Now, shame on me. I didn't have great running shoes. I had okay running shoes, but they weren't great ones. I should have had better running shoes that I had. And I was very blessed in that I didn't have more lower body injuries to my body than I had. I was very, very fortunate. So I'm trying to now. I'm kind of devoted to strengthening those areas of my 65-year-old body that need strengthening. And actually, I just left I also teach 2 classes a week to a program here in the United States. It's called Silver Sneakers, and it's an exercise program designed for folks 65 and over, actually. And I just came home from a class before we got started today, and I might have been, I'm trying to think now, I was probably the youngest person in that class today. And what I try to do with those folks is get them into a mindset that, number one, they need to stretch every single day, whatever it is. And it's not difficult to stretch on your own. You don't have to, go to a gym and stretch. There's a lot of things that you can do in your home to help with that whole process. But as we get older, stretching, as you will attest to, I'm sure, it's more and more important to do that stretching as we get older.
I think you're a real entrepreneur in that you've identified us baby boomers as your target market.
I actually have a community, Sheila, called Baby Boomers Health and Wellness, and there's about 75 there's about 75 folks. I don't know. Are you in that community? You're I think.
I should be.
Well, here, I'm going to challenge you now. I'm going to challenge you, Sheila, because of what you do and because of the entrepreneurial spirit that you have. I would love for you to come into the community. I will be I'll appoint you as a moderator of the community, and just do your thing.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not going to say you spend an hour a day. No, spend whatever you feel, whatever motivates you, because I don't pay attention as I should to that community. And they're baby boomers thinking about health and wellness, and that's what they should be thinking about.
And by the time your baby boomer gold rush is over, you'll be over as well. So it's a very good market to be in.
That's an interesting concept I never really thought about. But, well,
it's like being in knee replacements.
Actually, it's kind of interesting. As I said, one thing I know for a fact that every day about 8,000 people turn 65 in the United States.
Yeah.
Last year or 2 years ago, the first baby boomer turned 50, or baby boomers were turning 50. It was the first year that a baby boomer was 50. Is another way to put it. Um, well, baby boomers defined as individual born between the years of 1946 and
Mm,
1964.
mm, mm.
That's
So there are a
well,
lot of
actually,
younger baby boomers behind us then, a few behind us.
I was a baby boomer since the third year it started.
I think when you are in one of these categories of age, like the millennials or whatever, you follow the herd without realizing that you're doing so. And the characterizing feature of our generation is just this propensity for continuous work. You know, baby boomers just worked hard as a group, and continue to work hard. And there are a lot of baby boomers on Google Plus, you know, and people like Trina Paulos, who's, you know, she's way on in years from where I am, and she's there and participating, and I just love it.
I had a thought, and it passed. That's what happens when you get older. You get a, if you don't write it down or say it, you often forget the thought. That's
Well,
happening more and more, Sheila. Is there a remedy for that?
there is, but it's an ultimate remedy.
Let me ask you another question that came up today. Just today, it came up in a conversation that I had, and I'd like to know your feelings about it. The conversation went over to use of herbs and herbal and as a supplement to things that we might take in my life. And the individual who was talking to me today and kind of lecturing to me about it raised a point that I never knew. I have to be very cognizant of vitamin K because vitamin K is a blood coagulant, and I take an anticoagulant, so I
And a
can't
lot of, as you say, herbs, but I say herbs.
herbs.
A lot have coumarin as well, which is an anticoagulant. So, you know the smell of new mown hay? That's actually the smell of coumarin. And
Hmm.
there's an awful lot of plants that have coumarin in. So I think if you've got some condition where you are involved with anticoagulants, you should always check, you know, what's in the herbs that you actually take, to be honest.
Well, I'm going to actually I'm going to establish a baseline this afternoon. As a matter of fact, I
Mm-hmm.
have my first physical exam that I've had in years. I mean, I've been in and out of emergency rooms way too many times, but I've never. It's been years since I've actually had a physical exam, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting one this afternoon, as a matter of fact, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
reward that I'm getting because of the fact that I went on Medicare uh,
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks ago. And is there a similar program to Medicare? I don't know how familiar you are with it, but in the UK, where folks turning a certain age are guaranteed coverage by the government, and we paid into a system. I paid into a system for 50 years, and
No, we have universal free healthcare in the UK.
anybody has it, so it's not just
When
age.
when I when I came to the UK from South Africa, I went to see the doctor, and at the end of the consultation, I asked how much it would cost. And the nurse looked at me in absolute astonishment, and she said, "Where are you from?" Because to them it was just, you know, incomprehensible that somebody should ask to pay. And to me, it was something that I'd done all my life, was to pay for healthcare. But I'm so used to it now. You just go and pick up your pills, and you go and see the doctor, and you go and have your surgery, and you don't think about cost.
Interesting comment, and you and I might have on another session. We might have a
Mhm.
debate on that very fact because of all the preconditions that I have had in my lifetime, and they go back 20. Well, I've had a precondition my entire life, and we only knew that it was there. No, I take it back, Sheila. I had a heart murmur detected 53 years ago. 53 years ago, and as you know about heart murmurs, um, unless you can actually define some organic heart disease related to that murmur, doctors don't, well, they haven't paid attention to those heart murmurs. Pregnant women will have a heart murmur, and so they've never really paid attention to it. But back 52 years ago when I had, 53 years ago when I had my first heart murmur, well, my only heart murmur detected, in my case, it was a sign that something else was going to happen in my lifetime. And once again, medical science was not educated enough to know that that was going to happen, or that it was a predictor of something that could happen. Sheila, we need folks like you who have that vision and have the entrepreneurial spirit, and will take the time to share your knowledge and information, because you're doing the same thing that I'm doing. You're just doing it a little bit differently.
Well, I hope to be doing what you're doing more with people who are the real experts, which are the knee surgeons and the physiotherapists that I deal with, bringing them in and helping to ask the right questions and make sure that their answers are at a level that people can understand and follow, and explain the background to the responses that they give, because doctors just slip into med speak absolutely instantaneously. And you've got to say, stop, whoa, we don't know what a mitral valve is, or whatever.
Great point.
So we'll see if that pans out.
You're in Ronnie's group. Yeah, I'm sure you are, because I see you asking great questions all the time. And so you're preparing to launch an HOA with that
I did my first a week ago, and Scott Scowcroft is busy splicing and dicing for me, so it'll be in better form. But the issue really is that there are almost no knee surgeons on Google+. So I'm trying gently to coax a little group together with one of the communities you were talking about, hand-holding, explaining to them, why I feel it's important to them. And my output is going to be a lot slower than yours, because I can't bring a knee surgeon on a week, but because I have to actually get him onto Google+ first as the primary challenge.
It's a huge challenge. It's a huge challenge.
Yeah.
Have you had a discussion? There's another, I guess, I'm sure he's a doctor who just came into Ronnie's group a couple weeks ago. What's his name? John Bennett, maybe?
Yeah, I think he's an anesthesiologist, which we call anesthetist.
And he is bringing on medical professionals.
Yeah.
Well, Sheila, I will say, if there's anything that I can do to help you along to make it happen for you, please don't hesitate to call on me to do it, because I am obligated to do it by that pledge you heard me read.
Okay.
Well, I guess we're getting to that point. Although there's a lot of things that have not we've not addressed today that you and I will address at a future time. But I want to thank you for taking time. Must be tea time in the UK now.
Tea time, yeah.
Must be tea time. So I want to thank you for taking time and to share, and you're doing wonderful work. It's almost mandatory that every baby boomer go to your website and just get information about knees, because it's well, it's an important part of all of our bodies, and it reminds me. Do you watch? Do you get in the UK? Do you get a show called Dancing with the Stars?
We get a similar one, yeah.
Well, you have a UK version, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, I was watching a lady last night, Sheila, who does not have legs. Her legs were removed, and she has
that was
prosthetics.
on the TED show, TED?
No, this was on Dancing with the Stars.
Oh, Dancing with the Stars. Okay, right.
This lady was doing a fast step, and it's an amazing story. I don't think she has knees at all. Well, she has no knees at all. She has the prosthetics, and I couldn't. It was such a heartwarming story to watch this lady dance, and she got rave reviews on her dance. So the point is, it can be done. It can be done, and it starts with the same thing. It starts with that same spirit of entrepreneurship that it's within us, and that spirit says, okay, here's what's happening in the world. I think I can bring some value to the world by bringing some information, or by putting a website together, putting the resources together where folks can come and learn. I disagree with you, Sheila. You're an entrepreneur if I've ever met one. Not only do you have the spirit, but you take action. You take action on the spirit.
Well, so, thank you.
Thank you very much for taking your time. And one thing that I typically like to do, but I got to bring a new page up here, is to mention some HOAs that are happening later on today that I am familiar with because I get invited to them. So I just wanted to share some of those. Some of my friends are doing entrepreneurs this afternoon, or doing HOAs this afternoon. Okay. Well, 15 minutes ago, an HOA started. Actually, I used to be on the panel of that HOA. Ray Hiltz.
Always good value.
I used to sit on his panel. Matter of fact, I was on the panel last week, and he's doing an HOA on what's in your toolbox. A great bit of information, the technology that's out there, apps that are out there that we could be using to make our life a bit more simple. At 1 o'clock today, in about a half hour, there's an HOA. Sean Manaher, I think Sean. I think that's his last name. Sell more books with email marketing. If I have some time, I may try to stop, or I'll certainly look and visit that. If not live, then it's recorded fashion. At 1 o'clock today, also the Digital Marketing Answers shows. Eric Engie and Mark Traphagen, two experts in their field. You will always get great information in attending their HOA. Startup Gap episode 23 is at 5 o'clock today. I don't know much about that one. I've been invited, but quite honestly, I've never attended one there. And a friend of mine is doing an HOA this evening at 7 o'clock. Les Dossie. Truth is, everyone could benefit from a boost in confidence. Les is he was one of my featured entrepreneurs, and he does he's a really interesting individual. And at 7 o'clock tonight is way too late for Sheila to be be going to an HOA, but if you can catch the replay on that one, he's got a lot of energy and he does a great one. At 7:30 tonight, Eric Angie and Mark Traphagen are coming back again. My goodness, those boys are busy today. They're doing one, the New England Google Plus meetup. They're going to be talking about some interesting concepts in that one at 7:30 tonight. Oh, and a friend of yours and a friend of mine, Scott Scowcroft and Jess Duell, they do their Tuesday night.
That's always too late for me. I can't stay up.
Well, and it's too late for me. If I wake up at 10:15 p.m. my time, which is 7:15 their time, I will run to my computer because they always have great information in the HOAs that they do. And those are the ones for today. All the rest are tomorrow. So that's it. That's what's happening today. Or those ones I have.
You won't have any more time to do anything. You won't get your tea anyway.
I gotta have my tea. So once again, Sheila, thank you, and thank you for the things that you have brought to our community. One announcement I want to make to the community, and folks, watch for this. Last Saturday, just spontaneously, was not planned. We started a discussion. Anybody who attended the community Dreaming with Entrepreneurs in Google Plus community meeting that I had at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. No time is great for HOA on a Saturday, but that's the time that I do it. And anybody that attended the HOA had an opportunity to share with the other members of the community what it is that they do specifically, and how could other members of the community help them achieve their business goals and objective in the true spirit of collaboration. That's what small business is all about, is about collaboration. And we had some really interesting dynamics evolve from that spontaneous. It was a spontaneous action, unplanned. Well, I'm going to take it one step further, and any community member who attends on Saturday, I am expressly going to give them permission to put in the event stream something that's happening in their business, something they're trying to sell, or visits to a website, or whatever it might be, to put it in the event stream so that we can start to, help each other and work with each other and collaborate with each other. So I'm going to be a little more descriptive about that in an event that I'm going to put out later on today. But lots of great things happening. Lots of great things happening, and thank you for accepting my invitation to come on and talk about not only entrepreneurial spirit, but the entrepreneurial dynamic that you have in your life. So we look forward, and for anybody who visited our HOA live today or is going to do it, see a recording of it, thank you for taking the time to do it. We hope that we've brought some value, so that in spending time and listening, we will create some type of value for you, and it'll be worth your time. So we'll see you the next time, which may very well be the best time.